My two kids, Sam and Robbie, are twins. They're 6 years old. A year ago, we were living in our old house, but something happened that forced us to move. It's a long, awful story. I lived in that house for 4 years. My wife Carol and I got married while living there, and our kids were born there too. The neighborhood was slowly changing, and not for the better, but we still planned on staying there for the foreseeable future. Until this happened. Our house was on a corner. The house behind us was hidden by tall trees and thick bushes, so we barely ever saw those neighbors. But the neighbor on our right, his name was Steve. He had moved in less than a year earlier. I'd only spoken to him a couple of times, and both times I could barely understand him because of his heavy accent. Overall, he didn't seem like the friendliest guy. Two of his upstairs windows overlooked our backyard. There wasn't much privacy, but I never saw lights on in those rooms, so I assumed they were unused guest rooms. One summer afternoon, Sam and Robbie were playing in the backyard with their blow-up pool and water guns while I was doing yard work. As I walked toward the detached garage, I noticed Steve standing at his window, just for half a second. The moment I saw him, he turned and walked away. It felt odd, but I ignored it. Later that evening, as the sun was going down, the kids went back outside to play in the pool. Carol and I were in the kitchen making dinner when their laughter suddenly stopped. A few seconds later, Robbie came inside. He told me there was a flashing light coming from the neighbor's window. I followed him into the backyard. He pointed at one of Steve's upstairs windows and said a white light kept flashing. I asked both kids if it looked like a camera flash. They both said yes. My stomach dropped. I told them to dry off and come inside immediately. After that, I told Carol what happened. She assumed the worst, just like I did, and told me to go confront Steve. I went next door and knocked. No answer. His car was in the driveway. He was home. After knocking and ringing the bell several times, I gave up and went back inside. Carol wasn't convinced at all, neither was I. Weeks later, late one night, Carol and I heard our side gate quietly open, then close. She told me to check the backyard. I turned on all the lights and searched, but found nothing. That's when I noticed Steve's backyard lights were on. I walked over and looked over the fence and nearly jumped out of my skin when Steve suddenly appeared on the other side. He asked if I needed something. I told him someone might have been sneaking through our yard. He said no. I then bluntly asked if he'd been watching my kids or taking pictures. His reaction was strange. He became overly offended, almost yelling. Without proof, I apologized and went back inside. But Carol was furious. She was convinced he was lying. A few weeks later, in the middle of the night, Carol woke me up in a panic. The kids were screaming. I ran to their room. Robbie was crying and said someone had been outside his window, and there was a camera flash. I felt rage. I asked what the person looked like. He didn't see them. We brought the kids into our room. With the lights off, I peeked out our bedroom window toward Steve's house. And that's when I saw him. He was peeking out from the same upstairs window, staring back at me. I stormed over and rang his doorbell at least 15 times. He never answered. That night, I called the police and made a report. Within a month, we moved.